Overused words in book titles, and this is going to mostly pertain to fantasy. Just a reminder that this is all in good fun. I know why we use most of these words, but just wanted to point out that if you want to come up with something a little more unique when you're looking for a book title, these are some words that you might want to avoid when trying to do so. So of course, words like court, throne, ash, crown, blood, shadow or shadows, magic, war, and anything pertaining to dark, like darkness, dark, darkening, darkling, anything like that. We all know why everyone is using court and throne right now. Sarah J. Maas's series has been super popular since its publication, but over the last few years everyone wants to have a similar title, so makes sense. Overused words in book titles, and this time we're going to be covering historical romance per the editor that I have tagged below. Again, I'm making these videos all in good fun. It's not like your title's terrible or I'm making fun of it in any way. It's just, I mean, some titles have used very specific words all the time, and it's usually centered around a certain genre. So I find it really interesting more than anything. But anyway, my name's Ashley. I'm a author and also a book editor, and here are overused words in historical fiction novels. Wife, daughter, orphan, heiress, anything in relation to girl or woman, those are all very typical to include in a title related to historical fiction. Sometimes they get fancy with it and use like a location, which they should since it's historical fiction. Overused words in romance novels. And this is a part 3. I've done fantasy, I've done historical fiction, and now we're on to romance, and I've got a list. Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a book editor and an author. The poster thing behind me is my book cover, Heart of Skulls, that comes out in October, but I'm here to talk about this list. I'm not going to go over titles that include like a court of or anything like that, because that pretty much falls into fantasy, and I did a video about that. It included that kind of formulaic a court of and stuff like that, throne, da-da-da-da-da. So I'm not going to include those here. But when it comes to overused words in romance titles, we will see a lot of love, lovers, or true love, kissing or kiss, heart is usually in there, of course. Tender is also used quite a bit, more than I would like to admit. But then, weirdly enough, we have you and us also in there. So kind of bringing the main characters together, I guess. And then anything related to pop culture or at that time is usually referenced in a title in some way. So like Call Me Maybe and stuff like that. Or I've Got Your Number. Usually song titles are also intermingled with romance titles as well, strangely enough. And then beauty and beautiful are usually used in titles as well. Now, I say all of this all in good fun. None of it is ever being like, oh, your title is terrible if you include these words. No, I just think it's really interesting that a lot of the same words are used in particular genres. Like, it makes sense for romance for it to include the words like love, heart, and kiss. But with fantasy, it's very formulaic. And then with other genres, they're just words that continue to pop up over and over again in the titles, and it's just really interesting. I'm hoping to do like dark romance or something like that next, but I'm also scared to go down that rabbit hole because I'm not really in the dark romance scene like at all. I just see spicy stuff on TikTok and book talk, so like that's kind of like the limits of what I know about that going out there. Like going back to Beauty and Beautiful, like Beautiful Disaster was like probably the most like spicy book that I've read other than ACOTAR. So if you guys would like to help me out with that in the comments, that would be great, and then I can make a video with those overused words for dark romance titles. But yeah, that's my list for today. Other than that, you should totally follow to hear updates about my book and to get editing and writing advice. Overused words in book titles, part 4. Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm an author and a book editor. My book is right here behind me. It's titled Heart of Skulls, and it comes out in October, but you can pre-order it now. And I'm here to talk about overused words that are in book titles, but this time it's for science fiction. Now, my usual disclaimer, by no means am I hating on anyone's titles or anything like that. I am just very fascinated by how there are very specific words that are used in certain genres, so I've been kind of like digging into each genre and what words are overused in those. There seems to be just like some kind of trend that I'm lost on. So for overused words in science fiction novels, we've got war, worlds, journey, zero, anything related to time, like time machine, a wrinkle in time, stuff like that, which I found really interesting that that is such a popular word to use in titles. I never really thought about it. Another one that I never thought would like kind of be overused a lot is like rise or rising. That's used in a lot of sci-fi novels. I guess the time machine one works, makes more sense than the rising one does. And then anything pertaining to a planet, so like planet, any reference to planet, and then also like a specific planet like Mars. Mars is used quite a bit. And then lastly we've got saga. A lot of use of saga, and not even just with the comic. So those are the overused words that I found in a lot of sci-fi book titles. I'm trying to figure out the trend. I also had no idea that there were so many Dune novels. Don't hate on me. Sci-fi is just not my cup of tea, so when I was scrolling through, I'm like, oh, Dune is used a lot, and then I realized that's part of the series. But anyway, that was part 4 of the overused words in book titles series that I'm kind of doing, and even if I'm just mostly doing this for myself because I find it very interesting, and I think some of you might also find it interesting that certain words are just used a lot in certain genres. Follow for more like this, writing related videos, editing advice, writing advice, and then anything pertaining to my upcoming debut novel.